would make me happier than to spend some time with you on the water. So here's a few opportunities. We have 3 trips in May, 2 on the El Patron, May the 9th and the 23rd, and then May the 31st on the Island Spirit out of Ventura Harbor sport fishing, and then a reverse 2.5-day trip out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California on board the Apollo. What a trip that's going to be. If you want information or want to reserve on any of those trips, just send me a text at 657-227-6459.
Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California. It's a little breezy, it's overcast, we're expecting some rain, perhaps a little bit later today, but overall, it's another gorgeous day. You can see Dan Lightfoot over there getting ready to cast a bait, and hey, we've got a special guest star here this morning. Get over here, hurry up, come on, run. Here it is, Michael Limon down here fishing. What's up, Michael?
What's up, Phil?
How are you?
Good.
You gonna get out there and catch a fish?
Yeah, I'm trying to get off the thing.
All right, when you do it, we want to see it. All right, Michael Limon, great kid, loves the outdoors, loves fishing. Happy to have him part of the Friedman Adventures family, along with his grandpa out there fishing early here this morning. Well, we've got a lot to talk about. Where did our bluefin tuna go? We are still in search of. I'll have a report on that. There's some good yellowtail fishing going on south of the border, and I'm thinking about heading down there on Tuesday to do a trip with my buddy Louis Prieto on It's For Real Sport Fishing, and of course having a show with Paulina. Paulina's the best. She's a great angler and a lot of fun to hang out with. So hopefully we'll be able to put that trip together and bring you along with us to Mexico Lindo. I have the Mexico report for you. We'll talk a little bit about the Royal Star on her long-range trip. They've had some phenomenal yellowfin tuna fishing going on. The Independence will bring you up to date on where she is at this very moment and what she's been up to on her latest 5-day trip. We just got off a 5-day trip on board the Independence, and it was fantastic in terms of the fun. We didn't catch any bluefin or yellowtail, but that's been the name of the game here for about 10 days. We'll have all that, including some yellows at the Coronado Islands, some Seabass in the Channel Islands, and so much more. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. So good, so delicious, and so great to be with you all. If you don't mind, hit that like button. We deeply appreciate it when you're able to do that. Share these videos with a friend, and also if you would subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel, as well as tick that little bell, because when you tick that bell, you get notified when there's breaking news, bluefin tuna, yellow, sea bass in the Channel Islands, and so much more. Tick the bell, you'll be notified when there's new content. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. All right, so much to cover with you all. We do have some great charters available, but they are selling out fast. You saw that on the lead-in, so text me here this morning and we can get you signed up on a great trip. Michael Limon just said that him and his grandpa are going to join us on the May 23rd El Patron trip. So if you happen to be a Michael Limon fan, and who isn't, you might want to join us on that one. Or if you have a young boy or girl that wants to come out fishing with another kid, Michael's great at teaching the great art of sport fishing, no question about it. All right, let's go south of the border. We'll go down to Ensenada, where their yellow bite has been really, really good inside the Bahia de Ensenada. The Jureles, there's your Spanish word for the day, Jurel, yellowtail. Those fish have been biting really good. Now, there's a mix of fish. There's some of this 8 to 12 pound fish, and then there's that mostly 15 to 20 pound grade yellowtail up on the surface, mixed with the big bonita, throwing a surface iron on those fish. Man, that sounds like so much fun, and it's been biting really, really well. Now, there's a reason why we're seeing yellowtail there and elsewhere not so much. And I'm talking about south and north of Ensenada. The Baja coast has been really vacuous. No yellowtail around because of the cold water. You get in the bay and the water's been up over 60 degrees, and that's where all the fish have been hanging out. There's been some calico bass, some sand bass, occasional flurry on the barracuda. We've seen those big bonita. but everybody's focused in on the yellowtail bite, and it's been really good. Pongas, anywhere from 2 to 8, 10 yellowtail. In most cases, we'll see if this weather has an adverse effect on the bite down there, but overall it's been really good. And you know, there's so many great operators down there. We love blackfin sport fishing. Victor is a dear friend of ours. Foca there at Botes Juanitos. He does an absolutely great job down there. Arnie, man, fantastic. And it's for real sport fishing. Fantastic with Louis Prieto, Mara Sport Fishing. Never fished with them here. Nothing but great stuff. And there's other guys that I haven't mentioned that just work hard. They're very fishy. And Ensenada is such a great place to fish in. And there's so much to do afterwards. I mean, you can go out to the wine country if you bring your wife along. There's all kinds of great shopping to do. It's just a really lovely coastal Mexican town that I hope you get to enjoy really, really soon. And I'm, as I've been saying, I'm really thinking about heading down there. So that's what we've got south of the border. Let's bring you up to the United States side of the border. Well, actually, let's stay down there and talk Royal Star. He's on a 16-day trip. My friend Diego Nuno, who's deckhand on board the Royal Star. He was actually born on the island of Cedros, lives in Ensenada. Now I go to his house when I'm in Ensenada, and he's in town, and always have a lovely time. But they've been catching some really nice yellowfin tuna. Some fish up over the 100-pound mark, many fish in that 25 to 60-pound range. It has been really excellent fishing. So the long range scene chugging along really, really well. Previous to this, the Royal Polaris had a great trip. Really nice fishing going on. Some of those yellowfin getting up over 200 pounds down below there. We'll be checking in with the Royal Star again here very, very shortly to see how they are doing. Don't forget, it's almost April 15th. That's tax season, everybody. Give Tim Marquez a call. He's our man, A-Best Income Tax. Nobody better than Tim. He will handle your tax burden for you and make it go away. See Tim and give him a call here today. And if you have heating and or air conditioning needs, John Lopez, Efficient Heating and Air Conditioning. You can't beat John. He's a fantastic human being. Bluefin tuna. Oh my God, where are those little devils? Where are those big devils? They have given us the slip. I think it's been about 10 days now since we've seen, it's been longer than that actually, because before we made our 5-day trip on board the Independence, those things had gone missing. And were giving us a little reason for concern. At that time, I was telling everybody, don't worry about it. These guys will run them down. There's nobody better in the world, I really believe that, than the San Diego fleet. Their expertise, the equipment they have, everything, they will run them down. And I was very confident when I said that. After 5 days of not seeing a bluefin or a yellowtail, we got a little more concerned. And now another 5 days are going by where we haven't seen anything at all. And that includes the plane, spotter plane. They send up a spotter plane that goes out and scours over vast swaths of the eastern Pacific looking for the bluefin tuna. 4th time in a row, they have seen nothing. The Independence is currently on the front side of San Clemente Island. Perhaps you can see there Catalina Island. The next island behind there would be San Clemente Island, about 60 miles from Los Angeles ports, or Long Beach or even Dana. About 60 miles out there. They're on the front side of the island. Just threw on a barracuda, caught a shark a second ago, looking for some yellowtail. Perhaps, the Amigo there last weekend had 6 yellowtail. Mark Paisano Jr. is over there right now with our friend Chef Jason. At least I think Chef Jason is on this trip. And they are looking for more yellowtail. So hopefully they are going to come up with that. But, they're on a 5-day trip. They found no bluefin on this one. There was several other boats out. They saw nothing. I think a total of 5 boats out looking around, saw nothing. Now maybe that has changed here. I get like a mess of texts all day long about this guy caught bluefin, there was a bluefin caught out of Newport, there was a bluefin on the new LoAnn, blah, 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 blah. And I try to run these things down before I come on here. I don't see any confirmation to any of that stuff floating around right now. It just sounds like BS to me at this point. However, if we miss something or if something pops up here a little bit later, I'll either put it in text down below or I will, of course, do a special update. That's where ticking the bell comes in so very handy. So no bluefin tuna. We'll continue to watch it for you very, very closely. Some guys are getting very anxious about this, yours truly included, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if the Independents called me in 5 minutes and said, whoa, we found them. Here they are. It's wide open. It wouldn't surprise me either way. So we'll continue to watch that for you very, very closely. Liberty looked at the Coronado Islands, had 3 yellowtail. Nice fish, too. Nice big forky there, as you can see. And good rock fishing. So there's some decent fishing there at the Coronado Islands. And we have seen a line of yellowtail, really from down there around St. Quentin, which is 140 miles. I should be pointing that way. 140 miles down below the border, all the way up. However, it seems to have all sucked into Ensenada right now. There's a little bit up there at the Coronado Islands. We've seen a little bit at San Clemente Island. There's been a show of a few yellowtail, some private boaters I know at Catalina Island. So we'll continue to watch that for you very, very closely. We kind of covered San Clemente by talking about the Independence and the Amigo. We'll see what happens there here today. At Catalina Island, we have the Pursuit working over there on a regular basis, and great rock fishing for the Pursuit. They've been hammering out excellent fishing on the rockfish there. They also had 3 halibut yesterday, so really nice fishing for the 22nd Street based landing boat, 22nd Street landing based boat. I think that's how I'm supposed to say it. Yeah, I got it finally. El Patron out of Long Beach Sport Fishing. Limits of rockfish. They've been hammering out some great catches. They're going again tomorrow. They're going to have a Monday special here starting April 22nd. And on Mondays, you can go for $125 to Catalina Island on the El Patron. Wow, what a great opportunity. Only 22 anglers on that beautiful boat. So they're going to have a really great special going on for you. Out of Long Beach Sport Fishing, speaking of them, the Chubasco with my friend Dan Burns. Many of you know Captain Dan Burns, and I use that term captain loosely. Dan Burns is eccentric, maybe is a good way to put it. No, Dan's all right. He had a white sea bass on the Chubasco out of there, a halibut or 2. Didn't give any details, so I'm supposed to guess at where they caught them. But anyway, I'm guessing Catalina Island, and they had a sea bass and a yellowtail, so that is good news. Speaking of white sea bass, the Endeavor. Now, you're thinking, I'm going to go crazy about one white sea bass. However, Tucker McCombs, the guy that runs the Endeavor, he had 1 white sea bass and 1 yellowtail. But Tucker is a trusted voice in this business, and he said a better signal on the chrome. So he saw more white sea bass than he's seen in quite some time, and that means so much to me. When we hear that on a consistent basis from Tucker, it's the powder keg getting ready to explode. Now, he saw a good signal. Let's see what happens here this weekend and see if he sees more, if he can build on that. Maybe catch 2 or 3 and then get a hit on those things. Guy fishes hard. He has his expertise level way up here. He's an outstanding fisherman, a lot of fun to fish with. Endeavor, and of course, we're talking about a sea bass and a yellowtail, copious amounts of colorful and delicious eating bottom fish to go along with that. So really good stuff up and down the coast. We're seeing a little bit better signal on halibut. 22nd Street, I think it was the Pride, had a pretty good hit on the halibut. We've also seen that starting to take place up in the Channel Islands. Santa Barbara Sea Landings had some hit on the halibut here recently. Tucker on the Endeavor had a dozen halibut here recently. So we're starting to see more and more flatfish get back in the counts. The epicenter of the halibut bite for the last few months has been really here in Long Beach, California. But now we're starting to see more and more. Dan, oh my God, you've got to bring that fish up here. A ginormous fish for Dan Lightfoot. Dan, you've got to rush down to Big Fish Bait and Tackle and get a ruler and weigh that thing up, man. Hey, it's a fish. We'll take it. Good job. Dan Lightfoot with a fish, while Michael Limon is over throwing dirt clogs at helpless seagulls. I don't know what to say. Dan is out there working his tail off. Good job, Dan. So a little small barb perch there for you. Anyway, back to the halibut. We've been seeing some halibut up and down the coast. It was really good here in Long Beach. Now it seems to have switched up to the Channel Islands, and maybe we're going to go into a scenario where we're catching all kinds of big flatties once again. So really good signal on halibut and sea bass. I like what we're seeing. Good rockfish up and down the coast here. City of Long Beach, limits of rockfish. I hate to single out boats because everybody's in on this, from San Diego all the way up to the Channel Islands. It has been really, really good. Talked to Daniel Hadaway last night in a live special update. I love going up to the Island Spirit. Ventura Sport Fishing Daniel had a red the other day on the Western Outdoor News Rockfish Rumble that weighed in at over 10 pounds over there on the California, the full day boat out of Ventura Sport Fishing. They had all kinds of great fish, big rockfish, great fishing going on up there out of Ventura. Not only on the Endeavor overnight boat, but the California, the old Matt Walsh leaves in the morning and comes back that very same day, 3/4 day, and the half day boat. It's a long half day trip, 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon on the Island Spirit. They've been doing great on the Rockfish. They'll be out tomorrow. They canceled. They had some gusty winds here today up there in that neck of the woods, so they rolled it over to tomorrow where kids fish for free on board the Island Spirit with a paid adult. Kids 12 and under can go for absolutely gratis, free. So that is 805-676-3474. Man, I'm hoping those guys can catch one more trophy fish before the day is over. Speaking about the surf, it's been pretty darn good. And man, I got to tell you, a guy by the name of Chris Rink, Calico Chris. Chris, it's good to see you out thumping the big barred perch. Wow, down there around Newport Beach, just all over the barred perch with his buddy Javier. Javier had his personal best barred perch, big old barred perch. And man, you guys put the wood to him. If we can pull something like that off down in Ensenada, I'd be stoked. Way to go, Chris. So the surf fishing bite right now, you know, we get cold water and we still have it. We're in a La Nina now. Water temperatures are headed downward coming out of an El Nino, and barred perch love cold water. So do halibut. So you're catching quite a bit of halibut here in the surf. Corbina is a little bit more difficult with this cooler water, but Dan and Michael are trying to pick one of those off here because big fish, bait, and tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California. If you catch the biggest Corbina this month in April, you get a beautiful brand new custom rod worth about $300-400. It's gorgeous. So you just go to Big Fish Bait and Tackle where they have all your bait and tackle needs. You buy their ruler, you put it down in the sand, you put your great big Corbina there, you measure it up, you inscribe the date in the sand behind your catch, and you upload that photo to Big Fish Bait and Tackle's Instagram page, and you are eligible to win a really, really great custom rod. So keep that in mind. All right, my friends, what can I tell you, man? It's a little cold, not too bad though. I came down here and I said, hey, Michael, it's not very windy. And Dan said, no, conditions are pretty good. And you could just see Dan with that trophy, beautiful barred perch a moment ago. An exceptional catch on a beautiful morning here in Surfside. All right, so I'm going to get up to the house because I got a big old breakfast burrito to make for a kid that's back there just starving to death. He said, hey, are you doing breakfast burritos today? And I said, just for you, Michael, just for you. All right, hey, have a great day, everybody. It's always good to be with you. Join us on one of our trips. There's a little bit more information on that. And here recently, I spoke at a club called the Roosters Club and talked about some of my experiences in Mexico, meeting Mother Teresa, also living and teaching in China. That I have tagged on to the morning briefing, so you can check that out. Have a great day and a wonderful morning and an incredible weekend. And I hope to see you really, really soon.
Nothing would make me happier than to spend some time with you on the water. So here's a few opportunities. We have 3 trips in May, 2 on the El Patron, May the 9th and the 23rd, and then May the 31st on the Island Spirit out of Ventura Harbor sport fishing, and then a reverse 2.5-day trip out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California on board the Apollo. What a trip that's going to be. If you want information or want to reserve on any of those trips, just send me a text at 657-227-6459. It truly was an honor for me to have been invited to speak by my dear friend Blue Cotton at the Roosters Club Foundation meeting. This is a group of people who are making the world a better place. What an honor for me to have spent some special moments with these truly admirable people.
I'm going to talk a little bit about an event that Blue and I combined to do in Rosarito Beach with Flynn Robinson, who played for the Los Angeles Lakers at one time, won a world championship with them. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my time living in China recently. I spent 3 years in China, lived in Costa Rica, lived in Mexico for a couple of years also. But this group here impresses me as such a great group, a bunch of people from diverse backgrounds who are accomplished. Nobody's running around here acting like they're Mother Teresa, who I met in 1980 in the dumps of Mexico City. That was at a religious event for me. There's only one other religious event that really surpassed that. That's when the Fighting Irish kicked the hell out of USC. And then, that was right up there with Mother Teresa. But I did meet her in the dumps of Mexico City. I was working with the Sisters of Charity, Madres de la Caridad. I can tell you all about that also. But I'll start with the podcast. I don't want to see anybody's heads in the Caesar salad, so I'm not going to go into a dissertation on how to catch blue perch from the pier. I think I would lose all of you. So I'll start with the podcast and what really put us on the map. I had come back from China right as COVID was happening. I didn't come back for that reason. I came back to see my kids and see my wife again, who was ready to kill me. And I came back, COVID started to get worse, and I decided to stay, and then it just, there was lockdown in China and everything else. So I had started a school there. I was teaching in a school. I was doing after-school stuff. I was really having a great time traveling throughout Southeast Asia to all the adjacent countries, just having a really great time. So I came back and I said, well, I'm not going to just sit around, I'll do a podcast. And previously I had done a lot of work in fishing. So I'll go back to my base and then perhaps expand into travel, especially Mexico. I love Mexico a lot. I'll be down there Tuesday. And so we started a podcast. And, we're getting 100 views or, 200 views. And it's building slowly but surely. And then a captain named Mark Paisano comes on the show. And I just asked him toward the end of his podcast, you ever rescue anybody? And he said, oh, numerous. We got these guys in a panga who were out of water, almost dead off of Mexico. And we rescued blah, 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 blah. But the one thing I really remember, Mark said, was this little girl who we found drifting at sea. Her name was Desiree Rodriguez. I have no idea whatever happened to her, but we were coming back on a boat called the First String, and we looked over with the binoculars. We saw the bow of a boat sticking out of the water. We went over there, and she had been in the water for 24 hours. And how hypothermia didn't take her life is an amazing thing. So, okay, cool story, really cool. I get a phone call from a guy that I fished with maybe 10 years ago. Hadn't seen him ever since. And he goes, I know the girl. I know that girl. I go, come on. And he goes, do you want to talk to her? I go, do I want to talk to her? Yeah. So I get Desiree Rodriguez on the phone, and this is the girl, 35 years later now. So this goofy little podcast about blue perch and, things that are getting hundreds of views, all of a sudden in my head is like, whoa, this is a good story. Desiree, can you come to the studio? I'm going to tell Mark and Paul that you're a translator for Telemundo. We'll get this into the Spanish press. You're going to play the part. Actually, I didn't tell her that until she arrived. I made my oldest son, I go out there and tell her this is what we're doing. He goes, I'm not doing that, Dad. I go out there and tell her I'm trying to keep everything under control. And here with these two guys, I don't want them to catch on. So he comes back, hey, we're in. So she comes in, and I just start the podcast, and I said, why don't you tell these guys, you guys tell her what happened that day. So they go through the whole thing. They found her mother with a rope wrapped around her, dead. Her aunt died. Her little sister died. Her father came down on the way back from Catalina and said, everybody off the boat, we're sinking. And he jumped overboard and tried to swim. He was just trying to do anything he could at that point. So he tried to swim to land, but they were about 8 miles into the channel, so he perished. And it was left, Desiree was the last one, and they found her. And you talk about an emotional moment. At one point during the podcast, I looked at the two captains and I said, this is not a translator. And one guy just slammed, he knew it was up. And these two macho captains just broke into tears. It was such an emotional moment. And it got captured by, we were on the CBS Evening News. Our Dopey Little Fishing podcast was all over the place. You know, we were in all kinds of magazines, and there were follow-up interviews and everything else. So if you do get a chance, I think, you know, it's a human interest thing. It's not a fishing thing. It's a human interest thing. And I think you would thoroughly enjoy it. And that's what propelled us into where we are now. So most of what we do, as Blue said, we do fishing. I do something called the morning briefing every morning. Try to have it up by 8. I'm down on the beach at daybreak, blah, blah, blah. People think I'm nuts down there every morning, but I'm down there doing that. And then we have live shows. We have all kinds of other shows. I've already done 2 shows today. You know, it's a constant battle for content. So we're always doing that. All right. My parents kicked me out of the house pretty much when I was 19 and said, "You're going to Costa Rica with Father Ignatius." I'm like, "Where's Costa Rica?" And they go, "You're going to figure it out. Go." So I went, taught down there. Wonderful time. A priest down there told me, I go, "Father, you know, I'm really enjoying this." He goes, "I'm going to tell you something, kid. These people are going to give you way more than you're going to give them. You'll find that out in time." Boy, was he right. I mean, I donated a lot of time, but what I got back, I speak Spanish, you know, living proof that anyone can learn a foreign language. My Spanish teacher in high school was so amazed. She's like, "You learned Spanish? What happened?" And so living proof. So I was living there in Costa Rica, working with the Franciscan fathers. I followed that same priest over to an Indian village in Mexico called Tlaxcala in the state of Guerrero. And that was a great time because when I started to teach there, I said to the kids, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and we'll start our English classes," and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, with this blank look on their face. And I'm like, 10 a.m., can we do that? Well, they didn't have clocks there. So they tried to teach me how to point at the sun, actually, to indicate what time class was. So I was always like, you know, kids were showing up at midnight all the time. I had it all backwards. So that was another remarkable experience. Part of what I think you all know very, very well, because you're part of this club, is you're seeking some kind of fulfillment in life. You're seeking a passion. You're seeking more than what your job gives you. Maybe it gives you great monetary security and everything else, but you want to give back. And I also don't have to tell you that it's not hard to do. Because when people start treating me like a saint or something like that, I'm like, wait, no. I like doing this. I enjoy this. I feel useful in the world. So I'll go to the event that Blue and I did. We got 100 orphans, at least that was the plan. And we were going to do a 3-ring circus at the Rosarita Beach Hotel. We were going to do a fishing kind of thing on the pier. We were going to do a sports kind of thing with my kids doing football and everything else. And then we had the food thing going on. Well, somehow the 100 orphans and the 3-ring circus became 300 orphans, and we had way more kids. And there was a mad dash to go to Smart and Final and get more hot dogs. The owner of the Rosarita Beach Hotel, Hugo Torres, good friend of mine, he's getting up there in age, but he was out there barbecuing and feeding kids. We had a remarkable time. It was so great to see a world champion like Flynn Robinson, who was a wonderful man. See him out there tutoring kids, see him out there teaching kids how to play basketball. It was a beautiful thing. I'll never forget the little girl who said to Flynn said, "How old are you?" And she said, "15, 15, right? And he goes, "Why can't you say?" And he goes, "How old are you?" And she, "15. I don't understand. Why can't?" Oh my God, I had to let that go on for at least 10 minutes before I broke it. It was so cute, so precious. And Flynn was just a marvelous guy. But Blue can tell you that is a moment in time that I will never, ever forget. It was a remarkable, remarkable time. So now in Mexico, what we're doing with Friedman Adventures, I've created a whole nother monster that I didn't mean, but on our podcast, I said, "You got any clothing out there? Or if you have any footballs or sporting, bring them on by the studio." We had to get a warehouse. We got so much that we got a warehouse. And most recently, a hurricane came up the peninsula pretty far, the Baja Peninsula, and it ended up over an island about 400 miles down called Cedros, and devastated that community, little fishing community. They also have a salt mine there.
And so we sent down literally thousands of pieces of clothing, of sporting stuff, and took care of that whole community down there. I worked with a guy named Diego Nuno, who is a deckhand on the Royal Star, which is a big sport fishing operation out of San Diego, and we got all that down there. We are continuing to do that. In fact, Tuesday, every time I go across the border, I take a car full. And so we take a lot of stuff. I'll be taking some stuff down there again on Tuesday, trying to keep that going on. But as I say, you guys know very, very well that you never, when you're doing a charity event, say to yourself, oh man, I got to do this crummy. It's something that becomes part of your life. It becomes really important to you, so important, and it is to me. And once again, I absolutely love doing that kind of stuff. Recently, we were in El Zorillo, which is just a little bit south of Ensenada. I went down, whole truck full of stuff. I said, what are we doing, Diego? Where are we going to take this? He goes, oh, there's a real poor community, El Zorillo, where they have an old people's home. And a guy who owns a hotel in Ensenada, Jean-Loup is his name, he's a Frenchman who owns the El Rey Sol Hotel, which the restaurant there is the oldest French restaurant in the Republic of Mexico, which I thought maybe it would be Mexico City, but since the French got kind of booted out of there, they probably got rid of the French restaurants for a while. So we went, and he had told me, you do a lot of work with the orphanages. Nobody visits them. Nobody gives them anything. They're just forgotten. Oh, that was a great experience. Taking them clothing. They were really nice people. We got to sit and talk to them. And then we basically drove around. That looks like a really poor house. We'd walk up and I'd say, hey, do you need any clothing? Is there anything we can help you with? And just handed stuff out. We had some funds to give out. We gave to a mom and her 3 kids some funds to do whatever she wanted with it. So that was another thing. In terms of the future in what we're going to do in Mexico, I'm toying with doing some English teaching down there again, maybe a day or 2 a week. I don't know how we would organize that, but I would love to do that, because sometimes when you're giving out clothing and stuff like that, it's a Band-Aid. But if you teach a kid English, that is something that can help them make more money. The minimum wage down there is in a tourist area now is $10 a day. $10 a day. So there's a young man named Brian who works at the San Nicolas Hotel. Couldn't find a nicer kid. Couldn't find a more polite kid. He works his tail off. You can see that all the time. And he's making $10 a day, So when you give him a tip, and I tip 50% mostly, if it's a 20 here, because it means a lot to people. And speaking English is a huge key to their success. And, in China, I saw that firsthand. Those kids in China, oh my God, our education system, we're in so much trouble. Those kids are working so hard all day long. They have an insatiable desire to learn English and everything else. They do math problems that looks like hieroglyphics to me. I have no idea what they're doing. And then after they're done studying for 8 hours, they go immediately to an after-school program. They're studying more, or they're playing the violin or something like that. So, yeah, they're focused. And one thing that came in very handy there was my ability to speak Spanish, because a lot of the Chinese are doing business in Latin America, Mexico, so they all wanted to learn Spanish. And I was so amazed. I give those kids 1 week of Spanish, and then they are walking up to me, ¿Cómo estás, maestro? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are really smart, really dedicated. Parents there, pretty harsh, let me tell you. They really let the kids have it. There was a Chinese teacher who pulled a parent in, and they were going at it in the back. And apparently the kid had insulted her, and the kid was he was that kind of a kid. He was a little bit unruly. So the guy leaves, and she stands up, and she goes, he tried to give me $2,000 to, forgive him. And I said, whoa, that kid called me fat the other day. I'll take the $2,000. What are you talking about? She goes, no, we're not going to do that. I'll take that. That'll make everything good as far as I'm concerned. So that in China was great, and understanding a little bit more about a communist government, top-down, totalitarian kind of regime, living in that was very interesting to me, and just another reason why people should travel. Because you don't know how good you have it here in the USA till you get out and start traveling around. And I absolutely, people tell me I have the heart of a Mexican because I love Mexico so much. My wife is from Costa Rica. She wishes my heart was Costa Rican, by the way. She is always on me about that. But, you know, I'm from the United States. I feel like when we help people in Mexico, that's being a good American. That's what being an American is all about, being generous and kind and reaching your hand across the border. So that always has made me strive ahead to try to do those things. My mom, I can remember saying, you've got your frickin' United States jersey on when you're traveling, so treat people decently. Don't be an ugly American, that book that was very famous during JFK time. So I try to keep that in mind all the time. Also, we did an event down in Cabo San Lucas, I think it's about 2 years ago. Mexican government builds this beautiful skateboard park in this very impoverished area. Beautiful. I mean, they got all the nobody could afford a skateboard. So it's just like empty. And a woman who lived down there contacted me and goes, how many skateboards can you get? And I go, let's find out. So we got about 200 skateboards donated and a ton of clothing. We shipped that all down to Cabo San Lucas, and we went down there one day and distributed it. And that was another really magical time. So, I've managed to travel around the world quite a bit, met Mother Teresa, which was a great thing, met so many great people. I met this priest in Costa Rica, I'll never forget this, and he picked up this gig to make a little side hustle he was doing. He would take his rosary and go out and use it as a divining rod to find underwater wells. And he told me, yeah, this is really, I go, really? And older guy, gringo. And he would take it out, and when the rosary started to go like this, there would be water. He said, I'm 100% accurate with that. And I go, oh, okay, Father. He was the same guy that took me out the first day I was there and go, we're going to have a Cuba Libre, Felipe. And I go, okay, Father. And he would sit there and smoke his cigarettes and then throw it, and these giant frogs would eat it and spit it out. He'd laugh and say, they think they're fireflies. This is too much. Anyway, Father Eustachio was his name. He was a great guy. He gave me the rosary. I held it. It didn't do anything. He grabbed my wrist, and the freaking rosary was, I don't know, I still think it was some kind of a trick or something. The rosary started going zzz, and I go, whoa, Father, you definitely have something going on there, Can you help me pick a horse tomorrow at Aqueduct? Forget this underwater stuff. I want a horse at Aqueduct. So I've had an amazing amount of experiences. I've been very, very blessed. When I go to Mexico here on Tuesday, we'll be doing some fishing. We'll be handing some clothes out. I'll be enjoying myself as all of you. And the world needs more people like you. People who are accomplished, people who are giving back, people that are not like Mother Teresa. And I mean that in the sense that you think you're holier than thou. We're not. We're just trying to do the right thing and enjoying the ride as we go. So thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer any questions at all if you had a question or two. Yes, sir?
Do you happen to know Vicente Guerrero, the city?
Yeah.
Do you know of an orphanage there called the Foundation for His Ministry?
No.
I'll talk to you after about it.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah. I went out to an orphanage. I was in Tijuana, and I'll give you an example. I was going to go to an orphanage, and I was in the hotel Plaza Azteca. A friend of mine is the general manager, and I go, hey, where is this? I'm going to drive out to this orphanage. He goes, oh, wow, that's 45 minutes from here. I go, I thought it would be like, I'm in downtown TJ. What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, hey, be careful out there. He goes, you don't want to get out of your car and talk to whoever there. You want to go into a gas station or a liquor store. So I get out there and totally lost. I get lost here. And I'm lost, and I'm just sitting there, and there's a woman selling tacos. And I'm looking at this woman sitting there, and I go, there's no way that woman is not a decent person. Screw it. So I go out and I go, hey, Senora, do you know where blah, blah, blah? And she goes, oh, I've heard of that orphanage. Hang on a second. So she makes a phone call. She goes, my girlfriend is coming. She can take you there. And I go, little red flag, but I'm still looking at her, and I'm going, this is a decent person. So the girlfriend shows up, and I go, you ready? She goes, yeah. Turn left, turn right, turn around. You know, I'm going, oh, here we go into the cartel hit, right? And turn right, and there it is, right there. And then it was the orphanage. And I go, okay, great, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hand her $20. She goes, are you coming here to teach English or something like that? And I go, I'm toying with that idea. She goes, I don't want the money. And I looked at her shoes and the way she was dressed. She was very poor. Promise me you'll teach me English if you come back. And I said, absolutely. Yeah, that would be, you know, an honor for me to do that. So it's funny, you know, I was set up for, you know, I was going to get shot or my head cut off with a machete, and I ran into these really wonderful people. And then at the orphanage itself, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. Really, really loved it.